Look up on a clear day and you'll see the most obvious color in the world, a big, bright blue sky. It's been there over every human who ever lived. So here's something strange. For most of our history, almost nobody called it blue. Not because they couldn't see it, but because, in a real sense, they didn't have the word.
Hold on, no word for blue? The sky is blue, the sea is blue.
They are to us, but the clearest clue is Homer, the ancient Greek poet. In thousands of lines, he never once calls the sky blue, and he calls the sea wine dark.
Wine dark? The sea is not the color of wine.
It really isn't, and people noticed. In the 1850s, a British politician and Homer scholar named William Gladstone counted every color word in Homer. Black and white? Constantly. Red? Only a handful of times. Blue? Essentially never.
So, were the ancient Greeks colorblind?
No, they saw color perfectly well. What was missing wasn't the seeing, it was the naming. And there's a pattern hiding in languages all over the world. In 1969, two researchers, Brent Berlin and Paul Kay, found that languages tend to name colors in roughly the same order. Black and white first, then red, then green and yellow, and the sixth color to get a name, again and again, is blue.
So blue is consistently the last basic color a language bothers to name.
Almost everywhere. So the obvious question is, why blue? And the answer is that blue is genuinely rare in the actual stuff of the world.
Rare? It's the biggest thing in the sky.
The sky is blue because of the way air scatters sunlight, not because there's blue stuff up there. But blue you can hold and paint with is genuinely scarce. Red berries, brown earth, green leaves, yellow flowers. Easy. Now try to picture a blue rock or a blue plant. You struggle.
Now that you say it, I can barely think of any.
There's a reason. A true blue pigment is chemically hard to make. Out of all the flowering plants on Earth, fewer than 1 in 10 makes a blue flower. And even those mostly cheat by tweaking a red pigment until it looks blue. And animals cheat even harder. That brilliant blue jay, a shimmering blue butterfly, even blue eyes. Almost none of that is blue pigment.
Wait, what? A blue jay isn't actually blue?
Grind up a blue jay feather and the blue vanishes because there was never any blue pigment in it. The color comes from tiny structures in the feather that scatter light and bounce only the blue back at you. It's called structural color, a trick of physics, not paint. So for most of history, if you wanted blue, you almost couldn't find it. Which brings us to the best part. Humans wanted blue so badly that they invented it.
Invented a color? How do you invent a color?
You cook one up. About 4,500 years ago, the Egyptians found that if you heat sand, a bit of lime, and a copper compound together, you get a brilliant, stable blue powder. We call it Egyptian blue. And as far as we know, it's the first synthetic pigment in human history.
So the first color humans ever manufactured was the one they couldn't find?
Beautifully, yes. And the hunt didn't stop there. People found one truly blue stone, lapis lazuli, mined far away in the mountains, and ground it into a pigment called ultramarine. And it was staggeringly precious. At its peak, it cost as much as gold, sometimes more. You grind a whole kilogram of the stone and get about 30 grams of pigment.
So painters must have used it carefully.
Like treasure. They saved it for the single most important thing in the picture, which is why, painting after painting, the one figure in the glowing blue robe is the Virgin Mary.
So the blue robe wasn't just a color choice. It was basically a flex.
A way of saying, this subject is worth more than gold. Now there's one last piece, and I want to be careful with it because it gets twisted a lot online.
This is the thing about a tribe that can't see blue, right?
That's the claim, and it's overstated. There's a group in Namibia, the Himba, whose language sorts colors differently from English. They have one word that covers much of what we'd split into blue and green. Researchers ran careful experiments, and here's the honest finding. The Himba can absolutely see blue. They see the same light we do.
So what's actually different?
How quickly they sort it. Because their language doesn't draw a sharp line between blue and green, they take a little longer to pick a blue square out from green ones, where an English speaker does it instantly. And the famous clip of them apparently failing that test was staged for a TV documentary and never published as real science. So don't repeat the cartoon version. The true one is better anyway. Language quietly shapes how fast we carve up the rainbow.
Okay, let me put it together. Blue is the last color we name, the rarest color in nature, and the first color we ever invented.
That's the whole strange story of blue. The color that feels the most obvious in the world is actually the one that barely existed for us. We named it last, nature hardly makes it, and we wanted it so badly we built it in a fire. So next time you look up at that ordinary blue sky, remember, it's one of the strangest colors there is. Stay curious. If you enjoyed that, subscribe for more and stay curious.